The next item on our agenda would be presentations from the town manager, the first of those being an update on stormwater.
David Runn's going to come up and just simply give you a rundown of the projects that the board had previously approved, and we're letting the contracts. But before that, one comment I just wanted to address about the pumps and in Kitty Hawk, and is the town exploring that as an option for stormwater? The one difference I'll note is that Kitty Hawk has no outfalls. So town of Nags has 5 up until, so that's their, Kitty Hawk's only means is to pump overboard from there. Up until here recently, we've only been allowed to pump when there was 14 inches of standing water on NC 12. We've since, largely through a plan that David put together, are able to now pump when there's just simply, in emergency situations, when there's 6 inches of water on the road. This past summer, we had secured 2 pumps. We actually had them on site, 2 8-inch pumps that we had. We actually went a step further than just having them contracted. We actually had them in place and there for a while. It was looking, and of course, after all of the summer that we had, we felt like we needed to go ahead and get those pumps in place. So we had those largely through the months of September and October. Had the situation arise where we had in excess of 6 inches, we could have been pumping water, and we were in a position to do that this summer. So, but that's not why David's up there.
Thank you. Just wanted to go ahead and give the board an overview of what we have been doing at a staff level to address some of the stormwater issues that we had seen not only last fall, but we had seen recently this past summer. Earlier in the meeting, the board considered the Code of Ordinance revisions to the text amendment, through the text revisions, excuse me, as a way to go ahead and strengthen and improve stormwater management for residential and commercial applications by managing at the source. But that's only a very small part of what staff has been doing in addressing stormwater management needs for the community. There has also been an increased level of drainage maintenance. Not to say that we haven't been doing maintenance in the past. We have been doing programmatic maintenance. But what we have seen this summer is that there's a need for increased level of maintenance throughout the town. And on our website, we have maps where we have shown the areas where we have performed maintenance. And we're not talking about just a single pass through most of these neighborhoods. We're talking about multiple passes. One of the reasons why is because of the infestation of aquatic weed that we have through a lot of our main ditches and drainage ways. We've seen a lot of alligator weed and cattails, some of which we have posted some of these conditions on our website through a video that shows the consequences of having this large infestation and what it can do whenever it breaks apart during high flow conditions and how it can clog our pipes. There's been an increased presence from staff on site during rainfall events to monitor most of our main drainage areas, especially those areas at the inlets to our outfalls, to ensure that we can be there to manage these conditions whenever they arise. So across the board at the staff level, we've been on the ground paying attention, addressing when need be. When we receive responses from our citizens about particular areas that need to be addressed, we try to address as quickly as possible. I think that we've made great strides this past summer, especially in the north end of town, in some of those critical areas where we had seen the most extensive flooding here in the past, and I think that the residents have really noticed. So we plan on staying on top of that, as well as continuing with a programmatic approach to addressing the stormwater maintenance needs throughout the town. In addition, we're in year 2 of a 3-year phase master plan. The first part was mapping the drainage infrastructure, which was completed earlier this year, and we are currently focusing on the capital improvement plan project development. We hope to go ahead and bring a portion of that to the board at the CIP workshop. We will be bringing our consultants in at the Stormwater Committee level at the beginning of the year to get their feedback on that before we go ahead and present that to the board. But we are moving forward in that process right now. And also recently, you'll notice that we have transitioned from a stormwater working group to a stormwater committee. We've had 2 recent stormwater committees. We've got a member here in the ordinance that, in the audience, excuse me, Ms. Lambert, who has been an active participant within that committee. And she has taken a vested interest, as noted from the public comments earlier. And I think the public perception has been that the town has been standing on the sidelines just watching what's happening. And that's not the case. We're in the game. We understand what's taking place, and we've tried to respond accordingly to the citizens' complaints and concerns. So we are actively pursuing these. And then last but not least, the project-related work. Last Monday, we had conducted a pre-construction meeting for the public to alert those affected property owners throughout town where we have these projects proposed, to go ahead and alert them that these projects are coming your way, what they can anticipate during the course of construction, and when they can anticipate this occurring. So we try to, again, be proactive to alert the citizens that this is coming, this is what you can expect, and this is when you can expect it. What I would like to do is just cover some of these areas throughout town. Some of these were budgeted not only for this fiscal year, but from prior fiscal years. There are 4 drainage projects that we had slated for this year, including carryovers. They are located at Mall Drive, where there's a storm pipe replacement and upgrade scheduled at that location. Soundside Road, again, a storm pipe replacement along sections of Soundside Road, where those sections of pipe have fallen into a state of disrepair, where we just need to go ahead and replace and or upgrade at those locations. There's also South Nags Head. This is a continuation of work which has been ongoing for several years, where we've had pipes in the ground at various cross-street locations. Again, over time, they have met the end of their service life, and so this is a continuation of those efforts. And then lastly, the Vista Colony groundwater lowering system and the pump automation. This has been in prior year budgets. We've had some time constraints where we have been unable to implement these measures. This has kind of been a work in progress from when the system was originally put in place back in 2013 as a temporary measure, and we've been phasing in more permanent measures over time to help improve the performance of that system. What the town has done in response to some of the meetings that we've had with citizens one-on-one and also in groups is to look at opportunities at what we can do in order to improve some of those areas of town that had experienced some of the more severe flooding. Staff had developed a prioritized set of criteria in order to establish the ranking for these projects, and they are as follows. South Croatan Highway along the west side ditch, spanning from Villa Dunes Drive all the way down to Carolista Drive. That was a project that was just recently completed yesterday with the clearing of vegetation, not only from the ditch flow line, but as well as from tree overgrowth that was overhanging that ditch just trying to reduce the impacts from organic accumulation within that ditch flow line, which can impede flow during high flow conditions. Other projects slated are South Memorial Avenue at the 2400 block, South Wrightsville Avenue at the 2600 block, East Barnes Street in the 100 block vicinity, Nags Elementary School. There are 3 driveway connections on the backside of Nags Elementary School. One has a slotted drain in order to intercept runoff from the slope due to the pitch of that driveway. The other driveways do not. Our plan is to go ahead and put slotted drains at those other 2 locations in order to intercept runoff before it can flow down that driveway onto the adjoining properties to the east. And lastly, East Gray Eagle Street. This was a drainage project that we had proceeded with several years ago. We've had some good success with that project, but over time, with the amount of traffic and parking on the shoulders of that road, it has compromised that system. And so we see this as an opportunity in order to go ahead and restore and stabilize that system. You always have to maintain what you have, otherwise you will see a reduced effectiveness. So that is incorporated into the project listing, as well as the Dare County Rec Park. There was an opportunity there where some of the runoff from the parking lot was being conveyed down the sidewalk into the Carolinian Circle subdivision. And so we saw an opportunity there in order to intercept that before it went on to those adjoining and affected properties. Just to give an overview of where the projects are located throughout town, I've got some push pins here. I've got 3 separate maps that span through the north end of town, the midpoint of town, and then the south end of town. And what we've tried to do is cover the town in whole rather than just in part and focus on one area of town. So as you can see here, we've got 6 projects here in the north end of town. One project is represented by the 2 push pins, which is that project that spans from Villa Dunes Drive down to Carolista Drive. Here in the midpoint of town, these pins are a different color due to the fact that these were budgeted in this fiscal year. Soundside Road, down near the curve, that is the location of the proposed storm pipe replacements. And then there on the lower right-hand side represents Mall Drive, and the cross pipe replacement spanning Mall Drive, which is part of an overall stormwater system which carries runoff from the Seven Sisters subdivision all the way south to a sound outfall on the south side of the golf course property. And then lastly, down along South Old Oregon Inlet Road on the very north end, just south of Fire Station 21, there are 4 cross-street locations that we have where we are going to go in there, replace the existing cross-street culvert pipes, again, because they have met the end of their service life and are due for repair. So as far as the project schedule, as I noted previously, South Croatan Highway work that was just recently completed. Nags Head Elementary School, that is time dependent. And so we have worked with the contractor in order to schedule that during the holiday break, so there will be minimal to no interference for access there off of Wrightsville Avenue. And then the remainder of the projects are slated to commence in the beginning of January of 2018. And the draft schedule that we have been provided by the contractor, they will work from north to south with their projects, and there's going to be 2 separate types of work that they will be performing. One is the grading work, which is primarily the swale work which is a concentration of those 7 additional projects that we had identified, and then also storm pipe work, which really constitutes a lot of that budgeted work that we had for Mall Drive, Soundside Road, as well as South Nags Head. And so they will have 2 separate crews, one working for the grading, one working on the pipe work, so work will be happening simultaneously, and we anticipate that this work will span approximately 60 days in duration. So that is a nutshell of where we are currently at in our progress for stormwater-related work and what we tentatively have scheduled for the project-related portion of this scope.
Okay, thank you, David. Before I open this up for questions or comments from the board, I trust that some version of this report, including the graphics, either is on or is on its way to the website. Okay,
Yes,
great.
it's posted. This is most of the information that was presented here today was presented at the public meeting last week and is currently posted on our website.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner Sears?
No questions.
Commissioner Cahoon? Mr. Walters?
I'd just like to thank you for continuous work in this area, and when we had the severe flooding this summer, meeting with citizens in different areas of town and communicating with them and following up with emails with everyone to let them know exactly, what work was being done. And I think the communication really is key, because perception is reality, but information is power, and letting people know what is going on is really helpful, really beneficial. So I'm glad all of this is also on the website. So thank you.
Thank
Right,
you.
and one thing that I left out that we're also working on is the messaging. Because there's a lot of education that goes into this, and there's a lot of communication, and traditional means really don't cut it in today's society. So we have to look at other avenues on how we can get the message out there. And so we've been talking about that at a staff level internally, and I know Roberta has been very helpful in pushing communication out there to the public via social media. That has really been beneficial, I think, in gaining a greater understanding of what the town is doing in response.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Fuller?
Just one question as it relates to value. At one point in time, the town had a value of retain and park, which basically meant open ditches, swales, et cetera, as a way to deal with stormwater, primarily. Obviously, you still had to have conveyance, but it seems like over time, we've moved more to a value of conveyance than retain and park. Am I just looking at it wrong, or has there been a philosophical change in how the town approaches stormwater?
There has not. If you look at every project that we have done over the past 5 years, we have not created any new drainage flow paths, and that most all the projects are basically to capture and infiltrate locally. Again, that aligns itself with the goals and objectives that we have in our stormwater ordinance for low impact development, and that's to manage at the source. Now, what we have discussed as far as conveyance, those are already existing conveyance systems that are in place. So we're not looking at creating new conveyances only to keep up with what we currently have. And we realize that most of our west side neighborhoods are connected to these conveyance systems. So we're just trying to deal with what we have without creating new systems.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate that.